Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our session on AI in the workplace, productivity boost or culture killer. My name is Alison Grenier. I'm head of culture and research at Great Place to Work Canada, and I'm thrilled that you've chosen to spend the next bit of time with us here today. Just a little note for housekeeping. You'll notice there's a Q&A feature as the webinar progresses. If you think of questions, please type them into the Q&A feature. We will have time to get to as many of those as possible at the end of today's session. Yeah, that's about it. So let's get started. And I'm just going to kick us off today by sharing a little bit of research from Great Place to Work on what AI integration looks like at the best workplaces. What are some of the things, what are some of the ways it can really help us to advance our culture? And what are some of the things we need to watch out for? So I can see here we still have people logging on, so people will continue to join us as we go. I'm joining you today from sunny Kelowna, BC, on the traditional and unceded territory of the Silks Okanagan people. I feel very privileged to live, work, and play on this beautiful land, and we have a special guest speaker that will be joining us in a few moments. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen to kick us off here. Okay, so when we think about AI in the workplace, I mean, it's probably all we can hear, it's all we hear, or just doesn't look like my screen is sharing. Just give me 1 second. Tell me if my screen is sharing just for the visuals.
So yes, I can see your screen.
You can. Thank you so much, Murph. Okay, so there's no doubt that our future involves leveraging the power of AI to solve the world's most complex problems. If you just think about the vast amount of data that exists in every single organization, and then think about if we were really able to use this data to inform better decisions, think of what we could accomplish. And we also know there is not a corner of the world that won't be impacted by AI. So from production, logistics, marketing, AI, doesn't matter what your industry, AI is going to touch everything, has already, in fact, and it's here to stay. We've already begun to see some of the ways that AI has the potential to improve daily life for the average worker. So less time spent on routine and mundane tasks means more time for creative and strategic work. Enhanced productivity gives you better time management, hopefully better work-life balance. Machine learning and automation brings less human error, hopefully improved safety. So ultimately, we all know that AI can make work more engaging and fulfilling for everyone. So what are we worried about? AI is already everywhere, and it's changed and will continue to change the way we work. And as with any change, the positive impacts are going to be tempered by the fear of the unknown. How will AI in the workplace affect me, my job security, my usefulness, my worth? These are questions that people everywhere are grappling with as AI is rolled out. However, our research shows that employees' biggest fear isn't getting replaced by a robot, it's being treated like one. How do we know this? Each year, Great Place to Work runs the largest annual workplace study in the world, representing about 20 million employees, over 600,000 in Canada alone. And when we look at comments discussing automation, artificial intelligence, and robots, we found that rather than expressing fears of being replaced, employees spoke about different fears: a loss of individuality, mounting stress, dealing with rapid change, and a sense that their leaders just don't care about them as people anymore. And this data is from employees at our clients. These are companies that are already committed to creating a great workplace culture. To better understand how your typical employee at a typical Canadian workplace might feel, we conducted a global normative study last year. And for this study, we reached out to about 43,000 people in 69 countries. And these are not great place to work clients. These are just typical people working in Canadian society. And this study revealed a few surprising insights. Well, surprising for me at least. First, it was surprising that almost 30% right here at the top, almost 30% didn't think that AI would impact them at all. So that's the light gray bar at the top. So the question is, overall, I believe my organization will use artificial intelligence in a way that, and it's has no impact. That's this top gray bar. So this was a surprising finding for me because, I mean, maybe if we had done this research in 2025 instead of 2024, we might be seeing different results. The second was employee perceptions around how AI will impact them. So 40% of respondents believe that the company will use AI in a way that benefits the organization and customers, but only 29% believe that they'll use it in a way that benefits employees. And 10% believe that AI will be used in a way that actually harms employees. So I think this is where we're seeing that inherent lack of trust around, you know, if people don't, if leaders don't tell people how AI will be used, then we sort of tend to assume the worst. And I think the third piece, which is on the right-hand side of the screen here, there really was a lack of employee involvement and empowerment in AI initiatives at typical Canadian workplaces. Just 28% felt that their organization had introduced them to the benefits and risks of using AI. Only 22% believe the organization is making meaningful investments in their ability to use AI, right? So there's that training piece coming up there. So from this study, there's a clear opportunity, I think, for employers to do a better job of first transparently sharing their AI strategy to instill a sense of trust and confidence that their employer has their back and will help also with the training piece to prepare employees for the changes that lie ahead. So that is my, now I think it's time for us to go to an audience poll. I'd like to get a sense of the people in the room and how you're feeling. So Merv, maybe you can help me out with this piece. Unshare my screen and let's go to the poll. There we go, thank you. Okay, so first question for the audience. When it comes to AI integration, what best describes your organization? So just choose one. Is your journey well underway, just getting started, or do you feel like you're falling behind? And I think we've got the results coming in. There we go. Okay, so 58%, thank you for this, 58% are just getting started. We've got 23% well underway and 18% feel they are falling behind. And so this is a little bit more positive than I would have expected. Speaking with clients, the conversations we seem to be having most often is, you know, we know we need to get there, but we're not feeling super confident yet about where we're at. So that's a great one. So the second question for the audience then is, what impacts, if any, have you noticed so far on the impacts of AI. And we'll just launch that second poll now. So what impacts, if any, have you noticed so far, impacts of AI? Is it boosting your productivity? Is it having a negative impact on your culture? A bit of both or neither? Get your votes in there and then we'll close the poll. Okay, fantastic. 0% on the line here have said it's killing your culture. 21% said a little bit of both, 19% no impact, but 60% of people on the line are noticing boosts in productivity. And I think regardless of whether your organization has fully embraced or even established their AI strategy yet, I think those productivity boosts are really noticeable, whether it's, just having transcripts on your Teams meetings or just all these little built-in pieces to the tools that we use every day. So thank you for that. That gives us a good sense of where we are. And so what we want to address today is this little bit of both, the 21% that feel that, yes, it's having a boost on productivity, but also perhaps a bit of a negative impact on culture. And so we do a lot of research at Great Place to Work. As I mentioned, we survey almost 25 million employees every year. So it gives us a sense on, what are some of those key elements or key success factors for organizations that have had a good start to their AI integration. But research is one thing, real world application is another thing altogether. So I'm super excited to introduce our guest speaker today. This is happy to introduce Chantel Turton. So Chantel is Chief People Officer at ScalePad. ScalePad leads the company's award-winning culture and drives organizational growth at scale. With deep expertise in building high-performance teams, she brings a people-first approach that fuels ScalePad's mission to transform how managed service providers leverage data to grow their business. Since joining ScalePad, Chantel has guided the company through rapid global expansion. She's been a key driver in aligning people strategy with business strategy, ensuring that as ScalePad expands its platform and accelerates its growth, its culture remains the foundation for sustainable success. Chantel is recognized for her dedication to creating workplaces where individuals can bring their full selves, contribute meaningfully, and grow alongside the business. So welcome, Chantel. It's great to have you here today. We do a lot of webinars, and while I think the Great Place to Work research body brings people in, they really want to hear from the best. They want to hear from companies that have maintained high trust workplaces over time and learn a little bit of the tips and tricks in how they do it. So reminder to the audience, we've got Chantel here to give us like a case study of what AI integration has looked like in their organization. If you have questions for Chantel or me as this webinar progresses, please type them into the Q&A and we'll get to as many as possible in just a few moments. So welcome, Chantel. And you and I had an opportunity to connect last week, and I was very impressed with the approach ScalePad has taken thus far in AI integration. Do you want to just kind of tell us a bit about where you're at? So first of all, I think you're in the quarter of organizations that are well underway with your AI integration.
Yeah, I actually really loved that question. First of all, thank you, Allison, for the introduction, and super excited to be chatting about this conversation with you and the many that are joining us today. But seeing that poll actually, I feel like was a very interesting question of people thinking if they're well underway or falling behind. And I think it kind of stems back to the reality that as long as we're always moving, we're heading in the right direction. But if you kind of stall on your progress at any moment, the adoption keeps moving. And so we can very quickly fall behind. And so even when you often think that you are ahead, uh, it's moving even faster than we are. So it can be very hard to often feel like you're ahead of the curve.
Like
So I
a
was very
hundred,
interested.
if anyone's ever run a 100-meter dash, you can
Right.
think you're
Yeah.
ahead and quickly fall behind.
And
Exactly.
quickly fall behind. So very interested to see. But yeah, I'm excited to share what exploring AI and now obviously integrating it into the business is looking like at ScalePad. And it's my hope as we share through some of that, some of those worries that you listed from the study and the research that Great Place to Work has done, that we can address some of those and hopefully for any listeners, maybe put some ease to those fears or spark some good conversation. So I'm looking forward to that. But I'd say, the first and foremost is our leadership at ScalePad, what that looks like. I think that's an essential component to how you start to integrate AI into a business. And so we do have a leader who is paving that way. I will say that they absolutely are submersed to learn so that they can help educate their leadership that can bring this into the business. And so, not to put words in his mouth, but I know Chris Day would say that AI is not a nice to have, it is a necessity. And at ScalePad, we believe AI fluency is essential to our future. So, as leaders, we're committing to empowering our team every single day with the confidence, curiosity, and capability to work alongside AI. It's our goal to ensure that people understand that it is not to replace human ingenuity, but to amplify it. And so, everything that we look to do is pairing alongside that vision, but with the urgency behind it that it is not a nice to have, it is a necessity. And so, I know that you saw in that poll as well that some people think that it will not integrate into their business. And so I think it's important to reiterate that ScalePad is in the software world. Software as a service. We already are a technology organization that has fast growth and we're always evolving. And I mean, AI, automation, everything that goes alongside that only amplifies that significantly more that we need to be building cultures of adaptable people, adaptable leaders that are willing to take this journey of very fast learning and growth for us to make sure that we do stay ahead of the curve. So,
Yeah, I think urgency is a really great word to use, and this is a shift that I've noticed. Like I say, that study I shared was done about a year ago. I think if we were to ask people again today, we would not have 40% of employees thinking that AI is not going to impact them, right? So, and I think the speed at which the technology is evolving, it's just going to keep on accelerating. And yeah, so I love that word, like a sense of urgency, but also with supports along the way. So not a sense of urgency that we got to sink or swim, but with that really intentional supportive piece that you're talking about from senior leadership.
absolutely. And even the post of productivity booster or culture killer, I was looking forward to that debate a little bit because really I think it absolutely is productivity booster, but I actually think it's a culture booster, and it's my hope that we all can start to see that as well. I know here at ScalePad, we do our best to ensure it's not a culture killer by starting to create alignment, establishing shared language, and building confidence across our teams. So we call our internal teams Rocketeers. Forgive us, we are in the technology space. This is what we do. Give names to that, but we do our best to ensure that our Rocketeers understand that this isn't just about technology adoption, but it's adjusting how we think. And we need to think and communicate and make decisions knowing that we are in an AI enabled world. And so that takes some evolution from us. And um, as an organization, how do we provide comfort to that? Well, we make sure it's still how we roll it in is rooted in our core values. And here at ScalePad, two of our core values are to build trust and find a better way. And I couldn't think that those could align more to what AI is all about. It's integrating something that feels foreign to some and maybe scary to some, but doing that, ensuring that we're building trust between leadership and our employees, and also finding a better way. AI enables so much opportunity for each individual, let alone organizations, to find better ways, and to really, in the words of our leaders, 10x opportunity at any opportunity. So, like myself or any employee has the opportunity to 10x what they can do individually. And now it's just finding ways that we can encourage people to grasp onto that. So,
Can we
with
go
that,
back,
yeah,
Chantal? You've got
yeah.
so many valuable insights, and I want to just unpack a couple things you just said. In terms of the building trust, right? So that's one of
Mhm.
your core values. You're obviously have been on a trust building journey for some time. You've been recognized on the best workplaces list, which are based on what your employees tell us, right? Like you have a high trust workplace. I'm really curious because I think a lot of times senior leaders are worried or reluctant to really set a clear direction on AI because they don't know, right? They don't know
Mhm.
where it's going to head. Can you tell me how you handled this sort of balancing the trust building, confidence with the uncertainty? Like, how did your leaders sort of set the direction or share the strategy?
Yeah, I think again, to be very clear, we're still in this just as
Yeah,
much as
of
everyone
course.
else is. So we're still navigating that. But absolutely, it's open dialogue amongst teams. It's consistently brought up. So every time, whether it's ELT meetings or strategy planning sessions, it's a topic that needs to be addressed and it's openly discussed. So any potential fears of impact to leaders or their roles or departments is just addressed head on, and with our CEO in the room who's kind of paving that direction. Really, in the end, as we know, a lot of that trickles down. And so we need to make sure that there's alignment amongst your leadership's view of AI and how it is to be brought into the business and how it's there to support people, not the fear of removing, or as some people say, potentially removing some of their creativity, but um, kind of bringing in that vision and making sure that then they empower leaders to say, now it's our job to really bring in the creativity of how we actually utilize it to amplify.
Yeah.
Because I do believe bringing it into the business, there's two levels of disruption. I think there's healthy disruption and then there's chaos disruption. And I think what high growing companies have is healthy disruption. And that's what I'd say our leadership is good at, is that nothing is ever the same for too long. There is a healthy level of disruption that keeps us moving forward. But we do our best to prevent the chaos disruption, which comes in. And that is what is the culture killer, is that people do lose trust. They lose faith that you see them and that you are enabling them to walk on that journey with you. Instead, you feel like you're dragging people. And I think those are two very different aspects. And so we work very, very hard to ensure that we enable so that people walk along with us, and you're not dragging people along.
I love that. So for senior leaders on the line here, if you have not already sort of clearly addressed your team on your company's AI strategy, I guess a few takeaways. You don't need to have all the answers
Mhm.
first, right? So don't wait till you have all the information because you won't. I think the second piece is the allaying the fear, right? So that's the human connection with people.
Mhm.
Put yourself in people's shoes and address where they're coming from. And then spend as much time listening as you are speaking, right? So you can understand what's important to people. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. Those are all really important points.
Yeah. And so for us, and kind of going off what you're saying there, how do we help shift that mindset, right? And that's enabling leaders as much as then, the leaders' teams, and making sure we're ready to navigate the future together. And so I kind of touched on before confidence, and curiosity and adaptability. And those are kind of our three major aspects. So confidence is the ability to engage with AI tools without fear or intimidation. And like that ability to experiment, because everything in this whole field has been that you need to experiment, kind of that fail fast mentality, but you need to get in there. You need to have the confidence that you've been empowered to utilize tools play around with tools, and experiment. But that follows also with the curiosity, and that is a huge component that we have to encourage in people is that they have to have an active mindset of how AI can help this. One of our fellow executive members, Erin Kennedy, said it's almost like having a second brain, that you really need to utilize it in that way, that it always processes through that mentality of everything you do. Have a quick pause to go, is this something that AI could provide a level of boost to? Is this a mundane task that doesn't need to be repeated? With the goal that, yes, you have more space and more time to elevate what your actual time is being consumed by, whether that is strategy or whether that is more creative abilities, or many other things that can come from. So, curiosity is a huge aspect to this, which flows and follows by adaptability. And I believe that's a really big piece here is the willingness to evolve your approaches, to learn new skills, adjust workflows. AI capabilities, as we mentioned, they're going to continue to advance and quickly. And so if we don't have that curious and adaptable mindset, that's that component of feeling left behind. And that's where we really need to address to make sure we kind of walk people through what we call kind of that AI model of, the human process of AI. And we've spent a long time kind of thinking about how people process that, whether that's kind of that AI moment where it's the holy cow, look what this can do for me. Like you kind of see it for the first time of everything, and you kind of spiral a little bit about how much it could do if you really utilized everything it could be. Into the reality check that how am I going to learn all this? Am I falling behind? Once you kind of do that deep dive, you realize there's actually so much capability that it almost becomes paralyzing to that you don't know how to even step into it at all, um, which can be an imposter syndrome. People then immediately stepping into, the reality is that they feel like they don't have the abilities. Maybe they think due to age or due to role or due to position, whatever that may be, that they don't have the ability to adapt at that rate, and then moving people into the breakthrough, kind of getting past all that into building that confidence, getting through that we can do this together, we're learning together, and providing opportunities through education, conversation, to make sure that we get people to the other side of confidence. And so, as we think about that path, I think it's just really important for people to realize where you are on it and that all of that is important to process. And so, it's okay that if you maybe are in the imposter syndrome moment. I know I can speak confidently that I was there, and it's due to me reaching out to executive leaders, having great conversation, them kind of giving you little tidbits that you start to empower yourself with, that you start to really flow, and you're like, okay, I can move through that. And so I'm confident there's going to be many people that need to move through that exact program
Yeah.
to get to the
And
place of confidence.
I love the way you talk about, confidence, curiosity, adaptability, right? Because I mean, the confidence piece, I think we're all learning together, right? So
Hmm.
no one's gonna, even the most senior folks are not coming into this fully confident. So it's like that journey. So I love
Yeah.
that. But the one that really, and the adaptability piece I get, the one that I just had a bit of an aha moment, to be honest, is on the curiosity piece.
Mm.
So, how do we, as HR professionals, as leaders, really foster that sense of curiosity from people who might not have the confidence or the adaptability skills to kind of put themselves there? And like, to me, it's like it based on your age, based on your role, it doesn't matter where you're coming from. We need that curiosity, right? So
Hmm.
that's a real, like I say, a bit of an aha moment for me, because the other two pieces, if you will, fall on the organization a bit. The curiosity falls on us.
Hmm.
And so this really kind of speaks, I think, to that engaging your employees in the process, but also putting some responsibility for this thing on them to keep up with their skills. I don't know, have you kind of had that with your
Yeah.
employees?
No, it's a good question. pre the AI era, let's call it. I know it's been around much longer than maybe it's been a hot topic, but um, for the last 7.5 years with ScalePad, curiosity has been a key component that we've hired for. So that's not new. It's been part of our questions and our reality of what we want to see in the people that join our organization because we are in technology, and whether you're in sales or development, if you don't have a curious mindset, whether you're reaching out to one of our partners to inquire about their business of how we can support them, or you're inquiring to better know our partners on how to build the product that we need to build. If you don't have that curiosity ingrained in you, we don't think that you're going to be all that successful in what we need to do here at ScalePad. So I don't necessarily think that it is something that needs to be trained. I think that's actually a skill set that someone needs to have as a life lesson, truly, that we should stay curious in everything that we do. I think whether it's curious about yourself, Allison, to know more about you, which allows us to obviously build relationship, or in turn, learning more about a technology, that's a skill set that people need to come with if they want to have that level of growth in any area. So I really think that that's something that all of us can challenge ourselves, is that we kind of maintain a curious mindset. And I think it's apparent to see the people that are highly curious are the ones that are probably further along on this spectrum of movement, because they are digging in consistently. They want to know more. They want to understand, and we see how it's really supporting them in the technology and the learning. So, yeah, I definitely agree that that's on us completely. And I think a piece of adaptability is as well. Yes, we absolutely provide education. You provide as much as possible to employees. But again, kind of that motion we talked about of being willing to adapt, the willingness to try new things, all of that is on us as individuals as well, that we have to be okay in the uncomfortable, and even potentially say that we thrive in the uncomfortable, because that means we're progressing. And so, yeah, that would be my point of definitely stepping in and just being, knowing if you're uncomfortable, you're being stretched, and that means that there's probably something good on the other side of that.
Yeah. If it doesn't feel good, you're probably
Yeah.
growing.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, in this sense, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, there's so much that we could go into, obviously, on side rails, but I will say um our focus is, we're starting to talk about 2026 planning. This has been a lot of, our conversation that will be part of our, off-site, that we meet with leadership and start to talk a lot about what that means. And a real goal for us is to come out of there to make sure that we really are solidified on shared language that creates alignment, making sure that every leader really has a way to speak about this confidently, that they don't have to find like their own way of saying it. They feel confident with the approach that the company's taking, that they can bring that to their team. So really nailing that down and really enforcing that learning together is beating learning alone. So we're not having everyone learning in silos, but that we're making sure we're creating space for people who are taking those risks, that are out there learning how they can share in the organization, making sure there's space for that opportunity. Um, and then, of course, just reiterating that AI is here to amplify us. I don't even know. I loved that the poll didn't even necessarily say that it's people are fearing about necessarily replacement, which I'm really grateful to hear that, that we can really step into that. AI is here to amplify, and it's on us to really get to harness how we're going to utilize that, and the opportunity that we have as business and individuals to harness that in. So yeah, that's our kind of goal coming into 2026, to make sure it is a culture booster, not a culture killer. And the last thing I want to add to that, I know that we talk a lot about learning and development, and a big component is obviously what we do to support this here. But also, I know you and I were talking in before we jumped on here, but kind of the empowering employees again with learning and development. Of course, we need to educate and talk, openly talk. All of that's really important in a business, but really giving people, in my opinion, with AI, an opportunity for them to look at career advancement like they have a lot more of a hand in their career advancement. And so, right now, as positions, every position is going to evolve. So what has been done will not continue to be done just because that's the way it was done, right? every position will have a level of evolution because of a way that automation is going to come into that role. And so I look at every individual and say, you have something in your hand with AI that if you really want to step in and learn it, you can actually really have a hand in your own career progression. Specifically here at ScalePad, that people who will look to say that I want to make sure I'm progressing in this way because I want that position that is leading me to the next role that I want to take on. And so you really have, by how much you choose to be curious and adapt and look to implement an opportunity for career progression that is very tangible to you without waiting on, leadership to potentially move forward with that. So that is a
Yeah.
big component I want to empower at least our ScalePad employees with coming into the new year as well.
Amazing. Wow. This has been, we've got some questions, probably most of them for you, Chantal. So let me just see here what we've got. Okay, this is a good one. It's a bit of a tough one. This one's for you, Chantal. How are ELT and HR addressing the fear among employees that they might have about losing their jobs, right? So agreed that workforce is constantly reminded that AI is like their second brain, but do they worry that over a period of time, certain tasks or jobs would be automated?
Yeah,
Or
it's a great
maybe
question. Yeah, it kind of goes back to what I was just saying. I feel that um, that's where people's creativity, and we're not taking away human ingenuity, right? Like that is a huge factor that we really still need people. And I think it's very clear that AI still needs human review. And so that is not leaving. However, roles will change. And so I think we can look at through an organization and say, you can very clearly see where AI is going to impact certain roles and quickly. But that doesn't mean that that person isn't valuable in that position, but it does mean the responsibilities of that role is going to change. And what I remind people of is it's not here to replace you, but if you're not willing to step into what the new role looks like, which is partnering with AI and how that's going to amplify the opportunity of your role, that's where we would have the concern that it's not AI replacing you, but someone who's going to come and be a leader of partnering with AI in a role like that is someone that's going to be able to kind of see the future of that position. And so um, that's what I would be very open and honest with any employee that I sat with here at ScalePad is there is no executive plan in regards to how AI replaces people, but it absolutely is going to look and it's going to feel different in every single role, and it should. Otherwise, we're not doing it right. And so it should absolutely progress positions. And no one, in my opinion, should be in fear of losing their job unless, for any reason, they're not part of that train of saying confidence, curiosity, and adaptability. And if that's the train that they're not on with us and they're not interested in learning or navigating a different role from how it's been done, then that's a different conversation for us to have. Absolutely.
Yeah. It just keeps us going back: confidence, curiosity, adaptability, right? And having senior leadership be really sort of consistent with those messages, but also having people within the organization like you or your team that can actually have these candid conversations with people if they're sort of not sure or pushing back a little bit on their responsibility in all of this. Another question came in around like small organizations just getting started. Like, what are some tips for getting started? So we work with a lot of smaller companies. So when we think about like ScalePad, you've obviously invested a ton of energy, time, resources, thought in your approach, and you're in the well underway category, right? But we work with a lot of smaller companies that maybe they're having a hard time getting started. Maybe
Yeah,
it's
fair.
not quite, doesn't feel quite so urgent for them. So I'll just share a couple of tips that I heard from other companies on how you can actually get your people started on the curiosity piece. One is to do a little simple exercise with your team. Think about something you do 5 or more times a week. And it could be something in your personal life. It could be work related, but it could be personal. And then explore how AI can help you automate that tasks to free up time for something else, right? Or another example I heard is like almost like a team approach to thinking about, like, if the company doesn't have a clear vision of how they will use AI, engage your team members in that. Ask each department to think about one thing they can do, one way they can leverage AI to free up time spent on mundane tasks. So there's lots of little, like, you don't need to start with this big comprehensive strategy. There's lots of ways you can get started. And it's like building that curiosity of your team,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. I just
Couple.
want to add to that too. Like I know there's like AI basics, right? Get in on the basic level, understanding what AI is, core concepts of it, how it fits into, like you said, into daily work, kind of demystifying a little bit of the technology, like feeling like you start on the basics. And then, like you said, it's automation spotting, like starting to have those realities of what am I doing that is potentially repetitious or that can be given towards automation. Starting there alone is a very, very huge component. Then you can move into maybe different areas of learning. But even here at ScalePad, our people and culture team started that as well, where every Friday on our team meetings, we had to talk about a new way that we are utilizing AI in some capacity, whether or what we've learned about AI. So it's just opening the conversation too, that first of all, you're encouraging it, but it's making sure that people are prioritizing in some way that they have to have that, as we've talked about, the second brain that is thinking in that way and holding a bit of accountability to it as leaders. So that doesn't need to be a large organization. That can be very small that are having those types of conversations. But you'll notice that once you start having them, you just start to think about it, and it kind of moves you through, as I said, that transition through that program. But it really will get your mind going consistently. And once you've seen a win from how it really can provide that level of, I'll say 10x, but even 2xing your work and providing and removing that opportunity, like you will never go back. And then your mind's always moving in that direction of how you can continue to utilize it. So keeping the conversation current and consistent would be something I'd encourage for any size business.
Yeah, and I think on that, that is great advice. I think for any company, regardless of size, have the conversation, keeping it current, keeping it relevant for the business. So
Mhm.
we are just about at time. We do have a few more questions in the chat, but unfortunately, we won't get time to address all of them. But I do want to thank you, Chantel, for what I think was a very rich discussion on AI and its impact on workplace culture. Like I said, I've got tons of notes. You've given me a lot of takeaways. And just underscoring the role of the organization, but the role of the employee in all of this as well. So I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
The recording will be sent, I'm pretty sure. So if you missed anything, you can check out the recording. And thank you all for joining us. I think the registration in today's sessions shows, how much interest there is in this topic. And thank you all for joining. Hope you got something you can take away from today. Thank you, Chantel.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.